After a week of speculation and rumors and chatter, we finally found out today that Comcast is not going to buy Time Warner Cable. Now, this $45 billion deal had been in the works for more than a year, but after a meeting with regulators this week, the company is pulling the plug. And here to discuss this with me is Matthew Garrahan, the FT's global media editor. So Matt, this has been kind of a crazy day. Where are we now? What's happened?
It's been a complete roller coaster, Shannon. We found out minutes ago that Comcast was walking away from a deal it's pursued pretty aggressively for the last 14 months. In that time, there's been regulatory opposition, regulatory scrutiny, opposition from rival companies, open internet advocates have spoken out against it. There's been a storm of protest. But they'd stuck to their guns, they tried to get the deal through, and then today they pull it. Time Warner Cable is trying to get them back to the negotiating table, but it looks at this point to be terminal.
So how did this go off the rails? What happened?
I think we can look back to November as being the key turning point for the failure of this deal. Up until then, things had been going pretty well. Comcast had been talking to regulators. There'd been some opposition, sure, but nothing that was insurmountable. But in November, Barack Obama spoke out in favor of net neutrality. He gave a very pointed intervention into the net neutrality debate, which was widely seen as having influenced the Federal Communications Commission, the regulator, which was scrutinizing the Comcast Time Warner Cable deal. And when he spoke about net neutrality, he kind of severed his ties with Comcast. And up to that point, Comcast and its executives had been really big supporters of Barack Obama. They'd played golf with him. He'd been to their house for Passover dinner. They were very, very close, very tight. And they didn't want him to speak out about net neutrality, and then he did. And that was seen very much in the media and regulatory community as sending a clear message about this deal. Comcast said it didn't at the time, but I think that was the really important turning point.
So what do we expect next from Comcast? What could they do? And more broadly, what about other deals in the media space?
Well, Comcast has a $45 billion hole in its pocket now because it's not going to buy Time Warner Cable. But before we look at that, let's look at the other deals. I mean, there was a sort of network of dependent deals that were hinging on Comcast's successful purchase of Time Warner Cable. John Malone's Charter Communications had a couple of deals. The purchase of Bright House Communications was one of them that were lined up that were dependent on Comcast buying Time Warner Cable. AT&T made a bid for DirecTV. That's probably going to go ahead. That's what our sources are telling us. The regulators are happier with that one. But what does Comcast do with its cash? It's outgrown the US at this point. It can't buy any more cable companies. It already owns NBC Universal, the broadcast network, movie studio. It may look abroad. It may look to the UK. ITV has been rumors that it might buy ITV. It could buy Netflix with $45 billion. So really, anything is possible. And because there's no break fee attached to the Time Warner Cable deal, it doesn't really lose anything. So it can take its money and go elsewhere.
Thanks, Matt. We'll stay tuned.
Thank you.